What's up, guys? This is the Gospel According to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. I hope all is well with you guys. Please hit the like, share, subscribe. Make sure you remain subscribed. All right, guys, let's spin off into the topic, or in this case, topics of the video. I'm going to talk about some of the things that I might have missed over the last week while I was busy working and fathering and all of that stuff. So let's get into some of these things that I want to make a commentary about. All right, let's start off with this one. I'm sure you guys have heard about this one. This concerns the actor Jeffrey Wright. Now, guys, Jeffrey Wright has got to be one of the most versatile actors of this generation. Everything I see him in, he's always playing something different, and he always plays it convincingly. I just recently saw him in the latest movie from Spike Lee and Denzel Washington, Highest to Lowest, and he was phenomenal. I mean, he everything you see him in, he's great. And usually he gets very good reviews and he's well received by the general public. Well, Jeffrey Wright is looking back, I guess, on his experience with The Batman, in which he played Commissioner Gordon. Now, you guys know, as far back as anybody can remember, and even further back than that, Commissioner Gordon has always been a white man. And in this movie, he was portrayed by Jeffrey Wright, a black man. Okay, so Jeffrey Wright is reminiscing about that. And let's see what he had to say here. It says here Jeffrey Wright says the backlash to him playing Commissioner Gordon in The Batman was effing racist and stupid. He goes on to say, it's just so blind in a way that I find revealing to not recognize that the evolution of these films reflects the evolution of society. That somehow it's defiling this franchise not to keep it grounded in the cultural reality of 1939 when the comic books were first published. It's just the dumbest thing. It's absent all logic. Okay, now I guess this was a quote that you saw on Collider. And there he is in character as Commissioner Gordon. Uh, you know, yes and no. Okay. Uh, I can't say that I saw a whole lot of backlash to him specifically being cast as Commissioner Gordon. Although, guys, let's keep it funky here. I would not doubt that this man saw some racist comments or backlash online. After all, this was only a couple of years ago, guys. Now, if this had been maybe over 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, bro, there wasn't much of that to speak on. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I'm just saying, why even bring it up? But look, bro, let's just keep it real. As of late, we have gotten a lot more um, opinionated about this kind of thing. Now that race swapping has become the state of the art, now that it's become the gimmick, the go to, like Jeffrey Wright, you cannot remove this from context. Okay, if this was a one off 10 years ago, you might not have seen that, just the way that Billy D. Williams played Two Face back in the 80s, or was that the early 90s, whatever it was. Okay, but the point is that now everybody is pretty much burnt out on the concept of race swapping. So yeah, for those of you who are saying, oh, none of that happened, yeah, it did happen. And once again, let's keep it all the way real, because I was there and I know that there were some of us in this fandom who were counting on their fingers and their toes how many white people were good in this movie. How many white people were good versus black people good versus white people bad, in a movie called The Batman, where the Batman was played by a white man. But that wasn't enough for some people. They wanted to see more of a balancing out, I guess, of good versus bad white people represented. And at the time, I was like, holy crap, are we doing this now? I thought this was something that normally you would see the studios doing. The industry does those things. They're the ones who are doing the identity politics. They're the ones who have to count on their fingers and toes how many black people versus how many white people versus how many gay people versus how many women versus how many men are represented. Everybody wants to see themselves, you know. But go figure, some of us started doing that in this fandom. So it led to, yeah, a little bit of a pushback when it came to Catwoman being played by Zoe Kravitz, and of course, Commissioner Gordon being played by Jeffrey Wright. So yeah, some of that was there, right? But bro, that's kind of like just the way of the walk at this point. That's the way it is, you know. But you have these stars of these movies who have a problem with the reality that they just cannot be universally loved. You know, I think that's what it is. I think that they just can't handle it because on the other side of things, if they were just being adored, I don't think people would be like, "Oh, this is fucking stupid." I don't think so. You know, we got this other example right here, House of the Dragon, right? House of the Dragon star Olivia Cooke addresses the show's backlash, and she says some of the fans have been effing horrible to our cast. Now, she played Alicent, the one who likes to get her toes sucked on House of the Dragon. And it says she's had the unfortunate fan interactions while on the HBO show, and she's going to talk about it. She goes on to say, they'll take a picture and then they'll be like, "We hate your character." Sometimes people do say that with a lot of malice. Cook, who plays Alicent Hightower on the HBO series, told The Hollywood Reporter. Going beyond that, other cast members have dealt with acidic social media comments, while the show as a whole was bitterly decried by some fans after what they perceived to be a lackluster second season, packed with filler and a lack of narrative momentum. And of course, that's absolutely true. That second season was freaking ass, man. It was garbage. It was so slow after such a amazing beginning in the first season. Now, I'm not saying the second season didn't have its highs. You know, I mean, there were certain things, but for the most part, season two of House of the Dragon, it dragged, man, and it was terrible. You know, so I guess this is now where Olivia Cooke is coming from because now they're hearing from the fans, and I predicted this. I said, listen, man, if they do this in season two, I don't know if they're going to have the audience size they're looking for season three, you know? But once again, you have these stars of these shows who just want to be loved no matter what. And it seems they're really struggling with the idea that on the internet, man, you're diving into a hell of a pool. You know, it's like, man, in my comment section, I just had someone the other day come into my comment section and said, "I can tell by the way that you talk, you're gay." I'm gay. Well, I have no idea what you're talking about, child. Why would anybody say such a thing? May? But yeah, so what are you gonna do? You know, you're gonna break down crying every time somebody says something specifically to hurt you? I don't think so. Get over yourself, Jeffrey Wright. Get over yourself, Olivia Cooke, and all of these people who just make it a big deal to address the toxic fans and things. You're doing that to the distraction of the people who actually like what you're doing, of which there would be more if you concentrated on that. Okay, so let's move on, guys, because I want to get onto something else here. All right, now this is something I want to touch on real quick. All right, because this is going to explain how I'm going to do things on my channel going forward. Okay, so I just happened to just see this. It says Google and YouTube, Google and YouTube sign a $45 million deal with Israel to run Hasbara ads, particularly related to Gaza. Now, in case you guys don't know what Hasbara or Hasbara means, literally it means propaganda. Okay, so what it is, and you can see these videos on YouTube if you look it up. You know, type in Hasbara, and basically it's telling you don't believe what you think you might see going on over there in Gaza. Don't believe that there's any evidence of the G word happening over there, talking about genocide. I'll say whatever the hell I want. Okay, so in other words, they're there on YouTube and on Google to try to get people to um, be a little bit less critical of what Israel is doing over there in the Gaza Strip. All right. So they're going to be running ads on YouTube. You're going to see some on Google, things like that, telling you that no, no, there is no genocide. No, children are not starving. No, they're not being shot in the streets, women and children, things like that. And what this means to me. All right. Now, I know what this means to a lot of people. A lot of people are on board with that. Sorry, I can't be. Okay. With me, children, women, innocent people being killed cannot justify or can't be the justification, or it can't be justified by that terrible act that happened on October 7th. Okay, October 7th wasn't the beginning of this problem that's been going on over there. The Middle East thing has been going on since long, like before all of us have been born. You know what I mean? So I really resent that kind of thing. Like my video with an ad attached to it telling one side of the story. You know what I mean? I would be that way if it was the other side of the story too. If it were Palestinians trying to buy airtime on Google or YouTube and attaching it to my video, I would feel the same way. It was bad enough during the last election cycle when I had to sit through all of these political ads and I saw them attached to my videos, the candidates that I may or may not have believed in. However, the difference was there, this is our American process, you know? So it's up to you, the person or the voters, to decide what you want. So that's our American way. So I had no real problem with that, although I didn't like it, but it's America. This is not America. This is not our concern. These are foreign affairs, and I don't want them attached to my videos. Therefore, I will be demonetizing my own videos. You guys might notice you won't see any ads attached to my videos. As long as there's a chance that something like this could be attached to my videos, from now on, monetization is off on my videos until I know that I don't see stuff like this. You know what I mean? I'm not saying to ban it. Obviously, it could be seen other places. I'm just saying I don't want it on my video, not something like this. No. So that's how I feel about that, guys. I mean, listen, people are going to do what they want. Other YouTube creators can do what they want. I'm not calling for anything. I'm just saying how I feel about it. I'm a man of conscience, and I'm not doing that. Okay, moving on. Let's see what else I have here. Someone, I saw this. Seriously, they're asking this question. Why do all basketball goats be going bald? All right, so actually they were showing, I think it was a picture of LeBron James. Finally, this dude shaved his head, right? I mean, after forever acting like he wasn't losing his hair, he finally shaved his head, right? So the guy is asking, why do all of the GOATs, talking about Michael Jordan, talking about Kobe Bryant, probably, talking about now LeBron James, why do they shave their head? Well, I'll just say this, guys. That is a race thing, okay? Usually black men, we don't go through the balding process or the male pattern balding process the same way as our white brothers do. You know what I mean? Let me just show you something real quick, guys. You see this right here? This is Henry Cavill, okay? This is a man who's in the process of the deep process of losing his hair, right? And that was probably like 10 years ago, at least, right? So here's the thing. With black men, obviously our hair grows up. It goes out. It doesn't grow down. It doesn't grow long. So our white brothers will always have the option of doing these cute little comb overs, these cute little styles. I'm sure there's a bald spot in the back. He can comb over that. You know what I mean? So it usually takes the better part of what, like 10 years or something at least for white men to figure out something to do with their baldness. Usually with black men, we don't have that. We have to deal with it, and we have to deal with it quickly. Okay. For example, I remember when it first started happening to me. You know what I mean? It's like my hairline looked not even as bad as Henry Cavill's there, but I'm not gonna watch it happen, bro. So what can I tell you? Bam. I scalped this thing a long time ago, bruh. You know what I mean? It just so happened at the time it was kind of in style, what was going on. And I kind of have a reasonably human shaped head. It's not like it's you know, crazy or anything like that. I can deal with it. I know it looks funny now because I'm always wearing a hat, but yeah, that's kind of what that is, guys. If anyone's ever wondering, why black men, why we tend to, like shave our heads and stuff like that. Um, yeah, so hold on, let me just get back here. Bear with a brother. All right. So if there's any questions about that, see me in the comment section. But that's pretty much what it is. Black men can't do comb overs. Okay. Moving on, we have a very disturbing story here. All right. Now, this is the one that you see all over X right now. Okay. So, what this is talking about is 23-year-old, I don't know if it's called Irina Zarutska. Okay. Now, she came from Ukraine. It says here she ran from war in Ukraine. She came here for safety, and America failed her. 23-year-old Irina or Erna Zarutska was butchered on a Charlotte light rail. Her throat was cut open by a violent repeat offender who had been arrested 14 times and was still free. This wasn't random, this was preventable. There is a war on white people. Her blood is on the hands of a system that lets violent criminals roam while innocent people pay the price. If Erna were black and her kill, man, I hate when they do this. I hate when they do this. Injustice is injustice. Dead is dead. Terrible is terrible. Tragic is tragic. I hate when people do this because black people do the same thing. Oh, well, if it were white, this would have happened. White people do the same thing. Well, if it were black, this would have happened. None of that shit gets us anywhere. But the person who's writing this says it. If she were black, her killer white, the media would be rioting nonstop because she's white. They stay silent. This is evil and it's deliberate. Okay. All right. Obviously, she's a beautiful young woman. And I guess this is all of this dude's mugshots. All right. What this guy did, this is terrible. This obviously is an absolute nightmare. You're riding on a rail or a bus, and obviously she's scrolling through her phone. She's going through going about her business. She appears to be either going to or coming from work. And you have this fucking idiot, this murderer, this dog, this animal behind her, and just decides that he's going to kill her. Just random, makes no sense whatsoever, you know? And we should all condemn this. Absolutely. There's no question about it. And no, he shouldn't be back out on the streets. But what I want people to understand is that there are a lot of people who are going to take this story and they're going to use it as a call, pretty much basically as a call for a war on black people. Like the war is white on black or black on white, whatever the case may be. And like I said, black people do the same thing. Every time a black person is killed by a white person, they're hunting black people. Look, man, evil is evil. Evil people do evil things, right? No matter what their color happens to be. But for the outside observer, the first thing we look for now, because of the way we've been trained, is we look for the race. So if it were a white person who killed a white person, it would be a terrible thing. But if it's a black person, well, we got ourselves a race war, boys. And people are so heavily invested in that, it becomes a distraction to what the issue is with these people, like where they're coming from. Because I got to point out, guys, look at the stats. 95% of violent acts against black people are committed by other black people, and we're talking about animals such as this. So to me, it doesn't exclusively mean race. All right. Although, I mean, I don't know if they've drawn that conclusion here or not, whether, they've made that determination that race was a factor. But it is dangerous, because of how it is now. You know what I mean? So it's like, even though a violent act and an evil act is an evil act, race might end up being a factor just because of what we feed into it and the way that we feed into it. It just keeps the monster growing. You understand? So it doesn't get any better for stuff like this. It gets worse when people keep harping on the racial aspect of it instead of seeing it for what it is, which is an evil, violent, vile, despicable act. All right. So I just had to say that because I've been seeing this all over my feed. You know what I mean? So Elon Musk is saying white people are a rapidly diminishing minority of global population. The reason why I went and bookmarked this is because I want to illustrate the reasons why I don't pay for a blue check mark on Twitter because of what I was just talking about. I literally think that Twitter is there to tear us apart. You know what I mean? Like they're showing black people the worst of white people in the worst light. They're showing white people the worst of black people in the worst light. And you have people like Elon talking about white people are rapidly diminishing. You know what I mean? So what are we going to do about that? What could you do about that, Elon? White people are a rapidly diminishing minority of global population. Even if it's true, which it probably is, just by the law of statistics and procreation and things like that. There's more race mixing probably than ever as we live together more often. But what would you say is the answer? All white communities, which of course you're more than welcome to pursue, right? Just as long as it's not something you put on the books that black people or Indian people or Spanish people or Asian people can't live there, because that wouldn't be America, right? But people are willing, or I mean, people have the right to live and to, you know, I guess they have the right to be around who they want to be around. You know what I mean? So it doesn't offend me when I see white people, I don't know, living all on the same block and things like that. That's actually nothing new, man. People always do that. You heard of Little Italy, you heard of Chinatown. There are black areas where it's predominantly black, and I ain't talking about the ghetto. You know what I mean? We don't unify on based on poverty, but I guess it does turn out to be that way. But yeah. So meanwhile, okay, we're gonna move on from that. Meanwhile, while that's happening, Russia announces cancer vaccine is ready for clinical use, rolled out for patients for free. Okay, so you see what's happening in Russia. While everybody is talking about, what's going on the rail, and we're doing all of this stuff, they're talking about a cancer vaccine. Sounds exciting, except that I heard it's also a mRNA vaccine. The less I say about that, the better it is, for my channel. Although I told you guys I'm no longer monetizing, so I don't have a lot of fear about this type of thing anymore. But I don't want to be accused of spreading misinformation. So you guys do your research on that, just in case it's coming here to America. All right, let me just wrap this up because I know it's going long, but I want to also talk about this because, my son, when he was growing up, he watched a lot of Teen Titans Go, and I watched it with him. And we had a ball with it, man, and we had so much fun, and it was hilarious, legit hilarious, right? And one of the reasons why is because of voice actor Greg Sipes. Greg Sipes voiced Beast Boy on the show, and he also voiced a few other characters, Mikey or Michelangelo on TJ Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He voiced that character, like a lot of them, right? He's a great voice actor, and apparently he's saying that he was fired by Warner Brothers from voicing Beast Boy after over 20 years. He says he was fired the day after he announced that he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. I didn't know that, guys. Well wishes goes out to Greg Sipes, man. I mean, every time I see him behind the scenes or whatever, he just seems like a fun dude, man. I hate that, this is happening to him. But somebody is writing here to the Gunverse. Actually, they're writing to James Gunn. Hey, James Gunn, since Teen Titans Go falls under Elseworlds, the fans need your help. I had the pleasure of speaking with Greg Sipes, and he shared with me lots of upsetting details and information of how he was wrongfully terminated by Sam Register, while the other original cast get to keep their jobs. He said it was after Valentine's Day, and the OG Titans cast begged Sam that the show would not be the same without Greg. And the thing, this is kind of blocked. You guys can't see where it's blocked, but it is blocked. It's very inhuman. Greg told me he has been discriminated against because of his Parkinson's, and they are trying to. Oh shoot, they're coming to get me. They're trying to steal his voice and replace him with a mimic for the new Teen Titans Go season. DC fans, spread the hashtag Save Beast Boy hashtag. Uh, Greg needs your help. Wow. Ooh, okay. That's not cool. All right, so apparently there's a hashtag Save Beast Boy. All right, so I guess guys, if you agree with that, you can go on and tag James Gunn or DC or whatever. It's not right. Greg Sipes says Warner Brothers literally fired me on Valentine's Day right after I publicly shared my Parkinson's diagnosis. Yeah, that's terrible. You know, um, I don't know, but that's the industry, bro. It's like they have no heart. I want to show you one more thing before we bounce up out of here, okay? And this is our positive piece for today. It says here, and this is from King Randall, with no government funding, we survive only because people like you believe in what we do. Every dollar goes straight into shaping these boys' futures. They're counting on us. Donate here. This is the X for Boys After School program. Okay? So what I want to show you here is this has to do with this clip here. Our program gets attacked because I don't teach my boys to hate white people or live in fear of the police. Instead, I teach them auto repair, how to grow food, wear suits, use tools, and carry themselves like men. Skills are greater than excuses. Discipline is greater than victimhood. And this reminds me of what I've said in my videos for the longest, when I used to say that white supremacy ends where black accountability begins. And I had some people come in and want to argue with me about that. I don't know why. I think accountability is a great thing. What are you actually arguing about? It's that lack of accountability and self awareness that has us in the predicament that we're in now. Maybe we'd have less killings like the one you saw on the rail if we taught black people that they have accountability, that they have value. But no, the killer on that rail, by the way, there's a GoFundMe that's been established for his legal defense, even though he can be seen on camera killing somebody. That lack of accountability is what's going to take us straight to hell. So when you see stories like this is exactly what's missing. This is exactly what we need. Let's play this, okay? Let me see if I can pick this up, the audio.
That's it. And then you take that goddamn picture thing, you put it back, you get your screw. Simple as that. You hand tighten it. After you hand tighten it, you gonna goddamn get that wrench, turn the other way so you can turn it tight.
See how these kids are like really paying attention to what he's saying. Obviously, he's showing them how to, it looks like either change a tire or fix brakes or something like that. But, there he is and there they are, soaking up that knowledge, man. And this is something that, of course, is practical. It's something that they would need.
I'm gonna tighten it up. That's it. And then you take that.
Okay. All right. Much respect to them, man. Much respect to them. All right. So this is the organization, the Extra Boys After School Program. Now, what they have here is they also have a GoFunding, GoFundMe, or this is Go Get Funding. Okay. So you have the other guy who's got a GoFundMe for killing somebody, and you have this GoFundMe for young people to learn something that will be helpful to not only them but their community. And there it is. And it says here, all right, let me just read this real quick because I know this is going on long. Maybe I'll do this as a premiere. It says this summer our community came together and made something incredible happen for the X for Boys program. And our young men here in Albany, Georgia, because of the generosity of donors like you, with no government funds or grants and solely through private contributions, we were able to transform our facility and expand our ability to serve the boys in our care. With your help, we purchased and repaired our program vans, including new tires, installed brand new flooring, sheetrock, ceiling tiles, light fixtures, and fresh paint throughout the building, added smart boards, laptops, printers, and other tools to enhance our learning environment, upgraded restrooms with new toilets and urinals, hired a full-time staff to keep our program running at its highest level. These upgrades have already changed the day-to-day experience for our students, giving them a clean, safe, and inspiring place to learn, grow, and dream. Why we're raising $80,000 now. We are now raising $80,000 to carry us from August through December 2025. This funding will cover salaries for our dedicated staff who guide, mentor, and teach our boys daily, provide daily meals for every student in our program, fund field trips that broaden our boys' horizons beyond the walls of the school, support our new chicken co-op project, which will allow the boys to raise chickens and supply fresh eggs to their families. Wow. To launch our garden program with Farmer Fredro, teaching our students how to grow their own healthy food and share it at home, improving their family's nutrition and mental well-being. Every dollar goes directly to the work. We do not receive any government funding or grants. So the only reason we can keep going is because of people like you who believe in what we do. Now, up until today, they have raised $32,805. Their goal is $80,000. Okay, so they're 41% funded. with 506 donors. All right. So I will leave the link to this in the pinned comment below. If this is something that you guys like, it's something that you believe in, something you can get behind, something that goes beyond the hate and the cynical nature of where we are today, where we think that black people are just doing no good. You got to get away from these people. You can't live around these people. Um, there are people out there who are trying, man. So it's my pleasure to give that somewhat of a boost, even on a small channel such as mine. But there it is, guys. There are a few of the things that I saw on X that I bookmarked that I wanted to talk to you about, right? So you guys can get in the comment section. As always, you can let me know how you feel about all of this. I know this was a long video. I don't know if I'll do this as a premiere. If I do, I will be in the comment section. You guys can let me know how you feel about all of this in real time. All right. So anyway, guys, thank you. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Thank you for understanding why I have to demonetize these videos. But anyway, I'm still going over that in my brain, but I'm going to do what my conscience tells me to do. All right, guys, I will catch you on the next one. This is the Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.